All right, ever feel like economics is this big, complicated subject that's impossible to grasp? Well, we're going to change that. Today, we're doing a super fast tour of the whole field, breaking it down into the key ideas you actually need to know. No fluff, I promise. Let's do this.
It really all starts with one simple, almost childlike question. Why can't you have everything you want? Seriously. That amazing vacation, a new car, a TV that's just a little bit bigger than your friends? Why not all of it? The answer is literally the reason economics even exists.
And the answer is this one word, scarcity. It's the big fundamental problem. We all have endless wants, but we live on a planet with limited resources. You know, if there was infinite stuff for everyone, we wouldn't need economics. But since there isn't, we're forced to make choices.
So let's start right there, at the personal level. How does this idea of scarcity, of not being able to have it all, shape the decisions that you and I make every single day?
Well, every time you choose one thing, you're automatically choosing not to do something else. And that something else has a value. Economists call this the opportunity cost. It's the next best thing you gave up. So right now, your opportunity cost for being here might be watching some hilarious cat videos. Our job is to make sure this is the better deal.
Okay, so if we can't have everything, it means we need ways to get the stuff we don't have from other people. And that brings us to the magic of markets and the incentives that make them work.
I mean, at its heart, a market is just this, a voluntary trade. You've got apples, I've got bananas. We both want what the other person has. We make a deal, we swap, and here's the cool part. We both walk away better off. It's a win-win. And that simple idea is what our entire global economy is built on.
But why do we even specialize in trade in the first place? It's not always about being the absolute best at making something. It's about something called comparative advantage. All this means is you should do the thing you're most efficient at, the thing that has the lowest opportunity cost for you. As someone cleverly put it, it's about being the least worst at the right thing. That way, even if you're not a world-class expert, you still benefit from trade.
So what's the engine driving all this? What makes people trade and specialize and innovate? It really comes down to one word, incentives. People respond to them. It could be a higher price, a chance to make a profit, or even just the desire for a good deal. These are the invisible forces that guide our decisions.
And in every market, you've got this beautiful dance between two forces. You've got supply, that's how much of a thing is out there. When prices go up, sellers are incentivized to supply more of it. And on the other side, you've got demand, that's how much people want it. When prices go down, buyers are incentivized to demand more. Price is the signal that gets them to meet in the middle.
Okay, so we've got the basics of how people and companies interact. But how do we zoom out and measure the health of an entire country's economy? How do we know if we're growing or shrinking?
Well, the most common answer you'll hear is GDP, or Gross Domestic Product. It's the total value of everything a country makes and does in a year. Now, the key word here, the really important one, is final. We only count the value of the final product, like the loaf of bread you buy at the store. We don't also count the flour that went into it, because then we'd be counting the same value twice.
And here's the classic formula for how it's calculated. It's basically adding up all the spending. C is consumption. That's you and me buying coffee, clothes, anything. I is investment. That's businesses buying new machines and buildings. G is government spending on things like roads and schools. And X minus M is net exports. Basically, the value of stuff we sell to other countries minus the stuff we buy from them.
Now, this massive economic machine doesn't just run on autopilot. There are people and institutions actively trying to steer it, to keep it from crashing or running too hot.
And they have two main levers of control. First, there's fiscal policy. This is what the government does. They can mess with taxes and decide how much to spend. Then there's monetary policy. That's the job of the central bank, and their main tools are adjusting interest rates and controlling how much money is flowing through the economy.
Speaking of the money supply, what even is money? It's way more than just paper bills. Money serves three really important jobs. It makes trading way easier, it gives us a common ruler to measure value, and it lets us save up our wealth for later. My favorite analogy, though, is that it's economic lube. It just keeps all the gears of the economy turning smoothly.
And this, of course, leads to the question that everyone thinks of sooner or later. If the government can literally create money, why don't they just print a whole bunch of it and solve everyone's problems?
Well, the answer is one of the most important concepts in all of economics, inflation. Think about it.
If you suddenly have way more money floating around, but the amount of stuff to buy hasn't changed, well, prices just go up to match. It's simply more dollars chasing the exact same goods. Each of your dollars is now worth less.
And if you think a little bit of inflation isn't a big deal, look at this number. That's not a typo. That was the annual inflation rate in Zimbabwe back in 2008. They were printing $100 trillion bills that couldn't even buy a loaf of bread. It's an absolutely destructive force when it gets out of control.
Okay, time for our final zoom out. We've gone from personal choices to national economies. Now let's look at how all these countries connect and interact in one giant global marketplace.
So why do countries trade? Well, for pretty much the same reasons we do as individuals, just on a massive scale. It lets each country specialize in what it does best. Remember comparative advantage? Which makes the whole world more efficient. And for us as consumers, that means lower prices, a ton more variety, and faster spread of new ideas and technology.
But, and this is a really important but, globalization isn't a perfect system. While it makes the total economic pie bigger, it doesn't mean everyone gets a bigger slice. It can lead to painful job losses in certain industries and can make inequality worse if the benefits aren't shared widely. It's a powerful force for sure, but it has real trade-offs.
Of course, for all this global trade to actually happen, we need a way to swap all our different currencies, right? A car maker in Germany wants to get paid in euros, not US dollars. This is where the foreign exchange or forex market comes in. It's this massive, 24/7 global market that decides the price, the exchange rate, between every currency on Earth.
So, let's wrap this all up. What have we learned? Well, scarcity is the fundamental reality that forces us to make choices. Markets, driven by incentives, are our primary way of coordinating those choices. Governments and central banks are always trying to manage and steer this giant economic ship. And everything plays out on a global stage, where trade is incredibly powerful, but also comes with its own set of problems. And really, all of economics, from your own budget to the fate of nations, boils down to a few core questions. What should we produce? How should we produce it? And who gets to have it once it's made? There are no easy answers, and every single choice involves a trade-off. The constant, passionate debate over what the best trade-off is, well, that is economics.